All right, we did it.
Wow.
We are live. Mr. Eric, how the heck are you feeling today?
I am good. I just got home because traffic was insane. I stuffed my face with a pizza, and now I'm about to talk about Warhammer.
Well, honestly, it sounds like a freaking amazing day because any day I get to stuff my face with pizza, I get to come home to some Warhammer. I'm pretty freaking happy. Heck yeah,
Yeah,
my
agree.
man.
Agree.
So for everyone who's watching here, this is Eric Reynolds. He has a awesome Custodes channel. I'm a really big fan of his content. He's also super active in the Can Hammer Discord, of which I'm a part of. Hopefully, we can try to get him over into my Discord so we can help take part in some of the Custode conversations over there. So if you guys don't know Eric, make sure you give him a like, a subscription, and a follow because he's got a lot of really great things to say. And we're gonna have a really awesome conversation today. That's gonna have from two kind of slightly different perspectives on how the game is played. For those of you who don't know who I am Jonathan Ark, and I'm running Happy Corrupted Wargaming, where we go in-depth tactical knowledge on all aspects of Warhammer 40,000. We really tend to hammer in the Orks and the Custodes content here, but we do go over everything. You're about to start seeing a lot of World Eaters content as well. If you'd like to get involved in the conversation, you can hop on my coffee link, which is in the link down below, and you can join as a member of the Discord or even for advanced coaching services. Eric, do you have anything else that you'd like to say, man? Plug yourself, dude. Tell us a little bit more.
Uh, well, I played Warhammer for about 2 years. Not a whole
Cool.
lot of games per se. I play like once per week at least. But I am what I would like to call an average competitive player. I
Nice.
like to play competitive, but I don't say chase the meta. I don't
Mhm.
play the strongest faction. I don't always play the strongest list, but I do like to try and give my opponent at least a run for their money.
So to be completely honest with you, you're like my favorite type of Warhammer player, right? Like, and this is what I think everyone should strive to be. You should play the things you like. I do not like shooting. I don't play shooting armies, right? I play melee armies, right? I crump. That's what I do. You should play the armies that you enjoy. You should play the style that you enjoy, but you should play it freaking well. That's the way to play Warhammer, in my opinion. So I love that. If you guys haven't checked it out, Eric did post a part one to this little series where he went ahead and actually did a really good video. And actually, I tended to agree with him on quite a bit of it, which is pretty great on how Custodians pair into different matchups. We're going to dig into it on a little bit of a different perspective in this matchup because I think one of the things that Eric may have done on his video, which he should have done, is he should have just gone from his experience and some of the things that he's running into. What we're going to talk about today is I'm going to be pairing Custodes into every other army, but we're going to be doing it from a top competitive mindset. It's like, okay, maybe Necrons, for example, don't have a good win rate against Custodes, but at the top level of competition, how do Necrons and Custodes pair into each other? So that's why some of the takes I might have today might differ a little bit from the way Eric had on his video. And it's not saying that he was wrong at all. It's just we're going to be talking about at maybe just a little bit of a different level is all. And that's not like even skill; it's just level of competition. So I think we just jump right into it. What do you say, man?
All right, yeah, let's do it. So I've sent you the link to the good old PowerPoint that I used in my video. Are you at the Eldari?
You know what I'm gonna do right here is because I
Okay.
did, I went ahead and just kind of made my own because I was a little
Mhm.
just a little industrious. So I kind of went ahead and just made it in the exact same order as what you did, and
Sounds good.
we will just kind of talk. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong button, and that's also the wrong one. Here we go. Sorry, I hit the wrong button three times. Everyone, bear with me. And then browser source. There we go. All right, welcome everybody. All right, so what we're going to do on this little pairings matchup, we're going to take Custodes into every single army. We're going to be talking about how Custodes play into that army and how well and how successful they are. Okay. If you guys haven't seen it, this what I've got on my screen right here. This is the example of a pairings matrix. And if you don't have one of these, actually this is available to all the members in the Discord. So just hop on over there and you'll have access to this. But it's really easy to make if you just want to make it yourself. Basically, what you do is you just give yourself a pairings. It's a red is bad, green would be or I mean, sorry, green is a great. Yellow would be like, this is like a draw. And then an orange would be like, oh, please God, no, don't do this to me. So basically, that's the way it works. In the WTC's point scoring system, it goes from 20 to 0. And this is the way most team tournaments go. And typically, you only do pairings for teams. But this video will cover all aspects of gameplay. It's not just teams, so don't worry that we're only going to be talking about teams here. So, for example, if I have a 14 with Custodes into Sisters of Battle, basically what that means is that I would score 14 points, and Adeptus or Sisters of Battle would score 6 points, and every point is a 5 point differential. right? So if they port scored 6 and I scored 14, that means there's going to be like, what is that?
Math.
A 20-point differential on the actual battle. So that would be like me scoring 61 points to a Sisters of Battle who scored 40 points in a game. So it can be a little complicated, but just bear with us on that, okay? Big differential means big win. Small differential means small win. More or
In
less.
other words, a big number win, small number lose.
Wow, that, man, you are a poet.
Why use many words when few do trick?
I freaking love it, dude. That was great. All right, so let's just pop down right into this. So we're just going to start off with a bang with the Eldar. That is a picture of Votann, not Eldar. That is very funny. So sorry about that. I hate Eldar, and you guys can just be dwarves for right now. So basically, guys, one of the things that Eric said was he said he thinks it's a very bad matchup. He says it's very red. Eldar is extremely strong right now, and um, interestingly enough, I don't really agree with him. Now,
All right.
I do agree with him where he says Eldar is very, very strong right now. And I also agree that Eldar probably have the edge in this matchup. But you have to kind of look at what the typical Eldar matches, Eldar armies that you're going to be seeing at high level competition are. Okay, at high level, this is basically what you have. You're going to take an Autarch with a Phoenix Gem, and basically what that means is when he dies, he comes back to life because it's super freaking annoying. You're going to have a Spirit Seer with Fate's Messenger. That dude's going to run with the Wraith Guard, which is going to give them +1 to hit. It's going to be giving them able to flip one of their dice into a 6, so he can just always get dev wounds on him. It's super freaking annoying. You're going to have Fuegan, who is I think we can say dickhead on the stream, right, Eric? Is that fair?
Yes,
Yeah.
I swear.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
I
Yeah.
allow it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. He's basically a dickhead. He's also he just hits really hard. He also comes back to life when you kill him. Super freaking annoying. The Incarn, which if you guys didn't see the video I posted maybe last week on how to handle the Incarn, is a total asshole. And Custodes really struggle to handle the Incarn. And then they're going to run 1 unit of Swooping Hawks, 2 units of Warp Spiders, 1 unit of Wraith Guard, 3 Night Spinners, and a Decan. And most people know what these things do at this point, so I don't need to run into it. But when we look at this list, Eric, what do you see?
So I see the Night Spinners. It's already like giving me Vietnam flashbacks because not being able to advance with Custodes basically mean you're not able to play the game. I know that's not completely true, but if you can't even advance and move up the board, which you also get a -2 to move,
Yep.
it gets real bad real quick.
Yes. Okay. Totally fair to say that. However, what else do you see in this list?
All right. The Wraith Guard is like an anvil. I forget, Wraith Guard melee or shooting?
They're shooty, so they're going to have like 10 basically Dark Lances.
Okay, well, that's pretty
More or
good,
less.
but you can play around it because,
Yeah. Or
well,
just
terrain.
D6 damage, but yeah.
Right.
Strength
All right.
14, AP 4, D6 damage, and hits on 3s, and it's got dev wounds, which is
Ugh,
really
of course it does.
and they also have lethal hits because
Oh yeah, of course.
throw an extra 2 in there. All right. Well,
I see warp spiders that go 36 inches across the board, or whatever it is they move.
it's 24, but yeah, basically, might as well be 36. It's totally fair. Oh, and you missed the fact that if they roll a 1, they take 1 mortal wound, and they put it on the extra and there's nothing. So.
God, the 1 mortal wound, they're ruined.
So let me point out something that I don't think you're seeing. Okay, look how few freaking units this army has.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
Right. So let's actually count the units they have. They have 3 Night Spinners, so that's 3 units. 1 D-Cannon, that's 4 units. Then we got 2 units of Warp Spiders, 6 units. 1 unit of Swooping Hops, 7 units. Incarn for 8. Fuegan for 9. Autarch for 10. The Spirit Seer goes with the Wraith Guard. So they've got 10 units. Now, this is really, really interesting because what you actually find out in this matchup a lot of times is you, as the Custodes player, have more units than they do. Now, there is one really important thing to note, and I might spend a little bit more time on this matchup than other matchups, but if you guys have questions or comments and stuff, please type them down in the chat because we love to hear what you have to say here. Just because this is a hot take of mine, so maybe I spend a little bit extra time on this one.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'll keep an eye on the chat if anyone goes. Can we go next or something?
Cheers. All right, so just I posted a tutorial where I played a game against Eldar and I showed how I would play against them with Custodes. And in all reality, you never start your Sisters of Battle on the battlefield against this army, right? Because if the Night Spinners kill them, the Incarn's going to teleport in your backfield. So they always start in reserve. At this point in time, they have to move out with their chaff, which is going to be their 2x5 Warp Spiders and their 1x5 Swooping Hawks. They have to. They have to hold objectives with them. They have no choice. The second those things die, and it's pretty easy to kill them, because they die like flies. They can only hold objectives with Night Spinners and Incarn and Wraithguard. That's it. What do we have in Custodes? We have the ability to outmaneuver Eldar, which is a crazy thing to say, but bear with me here. If we go second, for example, we get to teleport our big Alaris brick. And then in turn 2, so we don't care if the Night Spinners shoot them and say that they can't advance. We don't care if they make you -2 to move, because you're going to teleport anyway. So you give zero craps about that one, right? Then we get to double or even triple rapid ingress 3-mans of Venataris. And they can only Phantasm once. So we get to outmaneuver the Eldar. The second we kill those 3 units, the Warp Spiders and the the Warp Spiders and the Swooping Hawks, each of will just die to normal shooting. You essentially have won the game. All you have to do is not engage anymore.
Okay. So how bad, not how bad, how much worse does the matchup get if you end up going first instead of going second?
Going first is much better, because then you get to advance without being slowed down.
Okay.
So you get to the objectives first.
Right. So you get to advance, but then of course you do lose out a bit of tempo for teleporting, because you can't do it turn 1. But okay, yeah, cool to know. Good to know.
So this is my theory. Now, by the way, when I say all that, Eldar still have the edge here. Okay, let's just be very clear. I do. It's still an Eldar win, but it is not a bad win. I call it 8-12, and an 8-12 would be something like a 10 to 15 point swing. Okay. Now, and Custodes absolutely have the ability to play this. It does require the correct list. I don't think you're going to win if you're running tanks. I think you need to run more of the infantry swarms with this.
Fair.
So that's my thoughts on Eldar, man. I agree with you. I think it's a loss, but it's a pretty close loss in my opinion.
Yep, no, that's totally fair. As I said in my own video, which, by the way, so many people didn't get the part where I was like, I have this experience, but we're going to get someone with more experience to talk about it later. That was really annoying. Anyways, I only had that one game against double Avatar with Harlequins.
Oh, double Avatar. That's like a war crime.
Yes. So that was bad. And after that, I looked at all the other stuff they had access to, and I was like, if I lost by 1 point to Harlequins plus Avatar, I must lose huge to whatever else they might have with the Avatar and Incarn.
It's all about the way you play the matchup, right? And,
yeah, of course.
And to be completely honest, and I don't mean to be degrading to anyone, if you are playing this at like a lower level, Eldar are going to run through Custodes. Because this is the reality of the Custodes list I play. You can't make a mistake with it. If you make a mistake, you're going to lose. And that's just the fact of it. It's hard to play the list. And I can post that list for you guys in a little bit if we need to. So let's move on here. Let's talk about our Dark Eldar.
All right.
What did you have rated on Dark Eldar?
So I have not played a Dark Eldar game, so I said it was 16-4 for Custodes.
Okay. In all reality, you're probably pretty close to right.
Okay.
But let me point something out for people.
Yes.
Okay. Let me point this out. Let's read Lilith Hesperax. Let's read what she does. Basically, here, I'll read it because it's going to be a little. So while this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have the Fight's First ability, and each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the strength characteristic of that attack, and improve the AP of that characteristic by 2 up.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And then, once per battle at the start of this fight phase, this model can use this ability. While it does, until the end of the phase, the attack's characteristics of her blades is increased to 12, and her invulnerable save is increased to 3 up. That being said, she'll have 12 attacks with a weapon skill of 2 up. That's sustained hits 2 and is anti-infantry 2 at AP 3.
Ew!
What does that model do? It runs in and kills 4 Custody Guard.
Yep.
Right? So the thing I want to point out, even though I do basically agree with you that this is a Custodes match to win, Dark Eldar have way more play than what you are seeing in tournaments. At a lower skill level, Dark Eldar are probably basically impossible to play right now. At a higher skill level, if we saw faction specialists actually using Dark Eldar right now, you would probably be seeing people would be a lot more scared of them than they actually are. Not to mention, these dudes can spam 20 plus Dark Lances. And every Dark Lance is going to be re-rolling hit rolls and killing a Custode every time it goes through. So it's like...
Nah, man. Just roll 4+. Come on.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? Because we kind of end ourselves into a position where it's like, roll 4+. You don't really want to be in that place. Syndra Tepek says, hey, man. I'm glad you're here, buddy. Super excited to have you here. And Shane Smith had a little comment here. I just want to kind of pick on this one. He says, "Hear me out. Custodians with pyro spears may actually be viable now. Either put them in reserve and rapid ingress them, or into a land grader." Buddy, I've heard you out, and gotta be honest with you, I don't agree. I think it's a bad choice. What do you think?
I don't know why people get so hyped when they see a melta gun on a spear and
It's
be like,
so
"Holy
bad.
shit, this is worth 10 more points." Obviously,
It's so
I don't
good.
see it myself. I don't, but who knows? Maybe it is the secret OP tech we've waited for.
Shane, we love you. We appreciate you being here, but that one, I think we're just gonna have a hard disagreement on. Sorry, bud. All right, so let's move on from Dark Eldar. So I think I'm basically comfortable with you saying maybe like call it like a 15 points to us. Call it a 15-5.
Okay.
I can see that. But it's probably a lot closer than you think it's going to be if you're not ready for what Dark Eldar actually can bring.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, that's totally fair. Yeah.
Leagues of Votann. What did you have? What did you have for Leagues of Votann?
Once again, a faction I have not played against in 10th edition, and also a faction I have not played in 9th edition either. So I never really got to play against Votann. What I do know is that in the latest data slate, they got like, was it 300 more points for their army?
And like a quadruple the size of their normal detachment.
Yeah. So they got a ridiculous, because their shooting was good. They just didn't have enough of it, and they were slow. But now they have tons of shooting. They're still slow. But I called it a yellow matchup, and I said 8-12 for Votann.
Yeah.
Sorry, 12-8 for Votann.
12-8 for Votann. I think that is probably a little too generous to Custodes, sadly. Let me kind of break down why. So we have what's called Hearthkin Pioneers.
Fair enough.
And for those of you guys who don't know what Hearthkin Pioneers are, these are bikes that move 9-inch scout move and then move 12 inches. And there's going to be 6 of them. And they're going to have, let's see, 6 times 3 is what? 18 shots that are going to hit you on 3s. They're going to double explode on 6s when they spend a 1 CP for a strat. And then they're going to wound you on 2s, AP 1, damage 2, you don't get cover.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds bad.
It's so bad, dude. And guess how many points that unit is?
That's probably like, thinking Custodes, that's probably like 400 points, right?
Well, yeah, but we're talking about Leagues of Votann, so it's like 160.
Yeah, the joke was that, never mind.
No, I understood the joke. Yeah, so basically what I wanted to point out when I said that, as Cooper, who's currently in the chat, who's one of the mods on my Discord, has to say, Votann are not slow.
Right, they're not slow. They bring 18 bikes. Got it.
Yeah, and Sagittars are fast. This is a transport that's 100 points that has effectively a sustained D3 las cannon on it.
Oh yeah, that sounds right for a 100-point vehicle.
And it's T10, and it gets a 6-inch scout move, and you can disembark after advances. Like, all right, they're not a slow army. It's a myth. They are a slow army if they're running nothing but their Hearth Guard, which are the obvious best units in the army, but they're not like the best units in the army.
Okay, yeah, because they are the best unit per data sheet, maybe. But if you just play with the other stuff, you have a lot of firepower for cheap, and you can play a completely different style. Okay.
Yeah, basically. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of agree with you, where it is a Votann matchup. I'm going to increase the win rate. So I'm going to say it's a Votann probably 15-5.
Okay.
So
that is more. No, again, haven't played against Votann. I haven't watched any games of Votann. I've heard they were slow. Apparently, I was lied to.
Yeah, I don't know about lied to, but maybe you just haven't played like the Votann players who are.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who are slaughtering people, right?
No, that makes sense, because I feel like it sounds a little bit like a skew list if you take that many bikes and that many transports. That's not the kind of people I generally play against.
Right.
So that's probably why.
Yeah. So and if they're like I said, remember guys, this is we're not talking about the majority of people. What we're kind of doing this is at a competitive level, right? So please don't feel bad if like you're like, oh well, I always crush Votann, like this guy's lying to. We're not lying to you. We're not saying that you suck or anything. We're just saying there's different levels to the game, right? And that's all we're doing. So then let's talk about Tyranids. I love Tyranids. I think, personally, just as an aside, bro, I am so excited for this edition if the codexes, if like the Tyranid and the Space Marine codexes are reflective of what the codexes are going to be.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I definitely think that flavor, or at least way of playing the game, goes to Tyranids between Tyranids and Space Marines. But I generally like both codexes, and I think they have I think there's still maybe, at least Space Marines, it's still a little bit obvious between what the maybe best 2 detachments are. But for Tyranids, honestly, I wouldn't know for sure which one is the best because it feels like they all have some way of playing the game that seems viable in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's the thing is like, dude, Tyranids, in all reality, I think they've got 5 viable detachments.
Yeah, that's fair.
And maybe I'm a little bit optimistic on it, but even like the assimilation swarm, which I don't think we're seeing very much, that's the one where like you can get harvest spexes to heal and get a fort feel no pain.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's probably really good. It's just we haven't had people figure that one out yet.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I feel the same. Like I looked at it when it released. One of my friends is playing Tyranids, and I looked at all the detachments. Like I could see a way to play all of these. I'm not the one who's going to solve it, but I could see a way where you can play with these stratagems, with these enhancements, all these things.
Yeah, totally, man. Awesome. So, alrighty, let's move on. So yes, Tyranids are dope. Space Marines are dope. We're really excited for what these codexes bring. Maybe at the end of this, we can talk about what we hope to see for the detachments for the custodes. All right. So basically, here's the deal with Tyranids. You've got 2 styles of Tyranids, right? You have your Endless Swarm, and then you have your Monster Mash. And your Monster Mash is probably going to still be Invasion Fleet because Crusher Stampede sucks.
I've had the honor of playing against the Tyranid player in my club.
Yep.
And he started out with having 1 Exocrine and 1 of the big brain bugs. I forget their name.
Maliceptors.
Currently, he has 3 of each, and they hurt.
Yeah. You want to tell people why they hurt? What do they do?
So they have a lot of damage 3. They remove your cover with like this little Pyro War, I believe it's called. And then they also have sustained hits against you because you're playing infantry custodes, and they just start picking up your models.
And then there's one other thing, right? So Maliceptors, when you're within 6 inches of them, you're -1 to hit.
Oh, right. Yeah. -1 to hit and -1 to wound if you're under starting strength, half strength?
Yeah, under starting strength. No. I think it's when you're under half strength, you're also -1 to wound. And you're always -1 to hit.
You're -1 to hit when you're just within range, and then you're -1 to wound if you're under half. That's how it is. Yeah.
And it's real gross. It's 18-inch range, it's blast, strength, I think like 10, AP2, damage 3. Yeah. So then your exocrines are going to be blast with like D6 plus 3 shots, strength 8, AP3, damage 3. So even if you are getting cover, you're still on your invulns. So they have crazy amounts of flat damage 3.
And that's not the worst part, because if you take the 3 exocrines and the 3 Maliceptors, there's still like 1,400 points of units left in the army.
Yeah. So here's the deal. With the current terrain, the way it is, I actually prefer Monster Mash when I'm playing Custodes, right? Because in all reality, it's pretty damn easy for me to hide and never get shot. Until it's time for me to get shot. But once it's time for me to get shot, that's when I already have charged on and claimed all the objectives, and I put them on 0. Endless Swarms, which is going to be 120 guns or just gargoyles all over the place. And I think you should always see at least 2 units gargoyles no matter what. Endless Swarms, I think, is basically a win for Custodes unless you go second. If you go second, I think you just lose. Because what happens is gargoyles, they're going to move 12, they're going to advance, so call it 15 inches, then they're going to shoot their stupid guns, and then they get to move another like 6 inches. So they're just going to create a line in front of your deployment zone, rush their entire army up, and you'll never get out of your deployment zone. You'll kill the crap out of them, but just every single time they'll put another unit of Termagants in front of you that you move 1 inch that turn, and you'll just never score primary. So it's an issue. It's an issue. If you go first, I think you probably win that matchup, though. And I hate matches like that, but that's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah, by the way, I never forgot to say that. I said it was favored Tyranids. I said 12-8 for Tyranids, and I've said that the Endless Swarm list is like, I don't see how I win against that personally.
You go first.
I don't know how, okay.
You go first.
Saying how I win against it.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because if I'm playing against someone who brought 120 guns, I feel like they know what they're doing, and I'm just like, that's a lot of small bugs. Yeah.
Well, let me help you here, right? So let's say that you go first against Endless Swarm. You advance everything up as far as possible behind cover, because you still don't want to get shot by all that. I mean, it's still getting sustained hits on you, right? You advance everything as far up as absolutely possible, and then you make sure they use a clock. Because if they're bringing 120 guns, dude, don't let them take 4 hours of your 3-hour game.
Right, yeah. Then you bring out the chess clock.
Yo, and that's a real talk, by the way, guys. using a chess clock is not being a jerk. Using a chess clock is making people respect themselves, each other, right? Like I can't tell you how many times I've been on a TTS tournament and someone has played a hour long first turn movement phase, and I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Like I have to sleep. I have work in the morning. Like what are you doing? You use a clock. It's how you show. It's one of the ways that you show respect for your opponent, and one of the ways your opponent shows respect for you. Of course, if it's Friday night beer hammer, different story. I understand that, okay? But we're talking on like a competitive focus right now. But that's aside. So yeah, I say I actually absolutely on the endless swarms. I would agree with you. I give Tyranids that advantage. I actually probably give them like a 14, a little bit of a better win. However, I actually put out a draw with Monster Mash.
Okay, interesting.
And that draw is going to be down to player skill. So let's just do 14 endless swarm. Endless. And then we'll go draw for Monster Mash.
Yeah. Oh yeah, one thing we didn't mention, you have it on the PowerPoint, but we didn't talk about it, is that it's as custodes, it is extremely hard to stop Tyranids from scoring secondaries. Most
Yeah.
armies have a hard time doing it. Custodes, it's nearly impossible from my experience.
Yeah, it's super freaking hard. You can, like, depending on the map, you can stop them from getting engage or teleport homers turn one in your deployment zone. But you don't care because they're going to get it in the center anyway. So they drop one secondary point. It's like, so
Yeah.
it's really rough. So basically, when you're in this matchup, and honestly, when you're in every single matchup as Custodes guys, one thing to really keep in mind is you win off of primary. That's really important to keep in mind. Custodes win off of primary and denying primary. We're not good at doing secondaries. I actually don't like it when people take like 140 point Alar's Terminator unit so that they can score secondaries. It's a bad choice. Remember, 50 in this game we have 90 battle points or victory points that are available. Because 10 you get just for showing up. So there's 90 that are available. 50 come from primary, 40 come from secondaries. If I score 50 on primary and I'm able to deny primary to my opponent, I don't care if they max secondary because I still win. And then 7 out of 16 secondaries are scored just by holding primaries. And what are Custodes great at? They're great at holding primaries. So while we're going through some of these matchups and we're saying, hey, at the top end, okay, these might be bad matchups for Custodes, keep in mind, that doesn't mean Custodes are actually an awful army. They do need a little bit of a boost right now. And so, but we're not dooming. I'm telling you this so that we can learn how to actually get really good with Custodes right now so that when they go back to being fair, they'll dominate. Cool? All right, so that's Tyranids. Let's move on to the next matchup.
Right before we move on, I just want to answer Holly the Bully.
Holy the Bully, I love it.
He's asking, is Vanguard Nits just out of competitive already?
I'm not seeing it. I think everyone was really excited for them at first, but then what we realized is that currently Orks and World Eaters are just going to annihilate anything that's trying to advance and charge into them turn one. And so it's just not an army that you're really bringing. And then Custodes will still crush that as well. So it's like,
my big take on it is that I think at my level, you can use them and they have some play because all those movement tricks and things you can do can really throw people at my level off because we're just like, oh yeah, by the way, I run 12 inches this way now. Like, oh, well, shit. But if you're playing against a proper skilled player that really understands movement phase and can like see ahead, 2 turns, whatever it is, those movement tricks just aren't worth as much. And the detachment becomes quite a bit worse.
I agree with that. All right, so let's do Necrons. I think this is one of the ones that you were talking about in your video, and this is a weird one, okay? Because when you look at win rates, I think Necrons are not beating Custodes. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I think like overall win rate, Necrons are like at 41 and Custodes are 43, I believe.
Yep.
And then in the matchup against Custodes, it's like a 60% win rate for Custodes.
Yeah, and while I 100% believe that, there's some weird phenomena in the ether, right? That just exists. I don't know what happened. It occurred during the War in Heaven, okay? Necron players, for some reason, just don't like to play Necrons the way that wins. And I do understand it a little bit because the way that Necrons win is really boring to play. But someone who plays Necrons correctly, I'm pretty confident wins 100 or wins 99 out of 100 games against Custodes.
Okay, interesting. Because I said the matchup was yellow 10-10.
Yeah.
Because again, I only have that one game into Necrons, which was I said triple Catan in the video. It was actually 6-tuple Catan. It was the 3 named Catan and then 3 transcendent Catan.
Okay.
But I did win that game because it was pre-data slate and it was
Oh, and
still
that was before they gave the epic hero
yeah,
keyword to the
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So let me just break it down real fast, okay? All right. You have a squad, and the meta Necron list was always going to be it was double Lichguard blobs with the
Mhm.
Lord, with the Technomancer, and then you also run the freaking double Doomsday arcs, right?
Yeah.
A Doomsday arc is going to pick up 3 custodians every time it shoots.
Ooh.
Because it's flat damage 4, they're going to spend 1 CP to be able to re-roll the hit rolls or the wound rolls, and it's AP 4 as well, so it puts you on your invuln. I mean, maybe it picks up 2, right? Like, but that's just,
Yeah,
and it
just
has
roll more
dev
for
wounds.
it.
It also has dev wounds if it doesn't move, which it has
Oh,
such good range where it just honestly doesn't need to move. So that thing's disgustingly good, and it's always going to be hitting on 2s, and it's blast. So if you're running like a 5-man, it's going to get a bonus shot, right? It's going to be D6 plus 2 effectively.
yeah.
Then these Lichguard blobs, you're going to have 10 Lichguard with 2 Crypto Thralls and then Technomancer. These guys are going to be at T5 -1 to wound. The whole squad
Mhm.
is 4 up invuln, and then they're going to have a 5 up Field of Pain with 2 wounds each.
Yeah.
The Crypto
Yeah.
Thralls themselves have a 3 up armor save. They're also -1 to wound, and they have a 4 up Field of Pain. So what happens is we do not have any unit in the game that can mathematically kill that. There's not
No,
a
yeah,
single unit in our army that can do it. As a matter of
that makes
fact,
sense.
if you put 2 units into it, I think the chances of actually killing that unit is, man, it's something like 38%.
Really? Huh. That's
Yeah,
big.
and that's assuming they don't resurrect in between units,
Yeah.
which they
Yeah.
will.
No, 'cause I said that in my video as well, that after the data slate, I am not sure we have any one unit that can kill them. I said maybe Terminators, but I didn't do the math. I was just guessing.
Yeah,
But you saying it like that, I believe you.
because the
Because
problem
the
there,
10-man custody squad, I think just barely picked them up on average.
it did. When you
Yeah.
ran them with Trajann, it was a
Yeah.
little over average. It was like you had
Yeah.
70% chance to do it. That was when you had a 10-man of guard with Trajann.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With 4 wound rerolls and all the juices. Yeah.
exactly. Because remember, the thing about Lich Guard is that they're -1 to wound. They're not -1 to be wound if you're higher strength than them.
Right. Yeah.
So even like your stupid pew pews, which are way better in custodians than people think, like custodians
Yep.
pew pews actually mess people up. They're wounding them on 6s, so your shooting
Yeah.
sucks at all too.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, that's it basically, and we have no way to deal with their transcendent Satan. So honestly, it's just a wash. I don't think it's a possible win. You could make it like, I mean, you could not get stomped, but you're gonna lose. So it's
Okay.
anywhere between 14 points for them, or they're gonna have 20 to you.
Yeah. No, that
And
makes perfect sense. They put those 20 guard or 20, what's it called, Lich Guard, yeah, on the objective, and
yep,
we just don't have anything that can stat check them.
nope.
And if we do, it requires our entire army, and by that point, we've already given up the game.
Basically, more or less. And that's one of the reasons why I'm actually not playing Custodes a whole lot right now. It's just because, in all reality, I can't beat Necrons. So even if I do have, and I do actually have a positive win rate against most of these armies, I can't beat Necrons. So, and Necrons are like the second most popular faction. So why am I going to
Oh,
bring them
really?
to it? Yeah. So I'm not going to bring them to a tournament when in my area we have so few tournaments. That
Yeah.
I just don't want to do it. Even though I love my custodians, I am still playing them. I'm still coaching them. We're actually having some people have amazing results right now through the coaching program. But it's like
Hey, nice.
I just not the you know I want to do well when I go to tournaments. All right. Orks. What's the noise? Orks, orks, boys, 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 boys. These are my boys. I love the orcs. They are my second favorite army. I got a little comic here. I think I'm covering it with our faces, so I'm going to fix it here so everyone can enjoy this. Great orcs here. What is your wisdom? Ovutoid Mordaka. There we go. And that is my horrible accent. And my wife
Before we go
just groaned.
into orcs,
Yes.
Sindri has a question. Venatari,
Sindri.
decent or not?
What do you think? I'd like to hear your answer on this, and then I'll answer.
Right, right. So I've been playing with Venatari both as 3-man squads, or sorry, 2x3 or 1x6.
Yep.
And I think they are really good units, but I also think they require you to be a better player than me, to say it the easy way. Because when I use them, I always end up putting them somewhere where they either, they score some secondary points, but then they don't do anything for the rest of the game. Or I put them in a spot where they kill something that I thought was a good idea, and then I lose them, and I realized that was not worth it at all.
You know what, man? I think that was very, very beautifully put. And that's the thing. Venatari are actually awesome. I freaking love them. They're not easy to use. I always run them as 2x3. I never take them in a 6-man blob because I think with the trick, the trap with Venatori is that you want to go kill everything with them,
Mm.
and that really is a bit of a trap. Oh my! Look at this. We got a super chat coming in from Mad Mage Crafting. He, by the way, is a member of the Adeptus Custodes. Little coaching member right there. Super happy to have you here, man. Thanks so much for the super chat. He's got a question here. Having painted up a number of guard, are there any of these armies that we could still use guard rather than wardens? Yes, guard are still viable. I do still like them. I just think they take a backseat to the warden build. What do you think?
Mm. Yeah, so the way I see it with wardens versus guard is that I can always find a use for wardens. I think in any matchup against any list, I'll just be
Yep.
like, wardens can stand here, and if they get shot at, there's a decent chance to survive the first round of firing or first round of combat. Wardens still fight really good, even if
Mhm.
they don't have wound rerolls. Whereas with the guards, I'm a little bit more like, I I think they're a little bit harder to use, and generally getting the most value out of them is quite a bit harder than using wardens.
I think if you want to run guard, you're dedicating yourself either to the MSU build for Custodes, or you're going full Unga Bunga. We're running triple Blade Champs, and you're going for it. And honestly, it's a super fun list. I don't think it's the best way to run Custodes, but it actually is a good way to run Custodes, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Another point I wanted to say is that it feels good spending points for a character into a warden squad because they become even more tanky.
Yeah.
Where I'm putting points into a guard squad, I mean, yes, you add in a character to the unit and the character gets rerolls, but the guard unit itself doesn't get that much from it. The Blade Champion gives them advantage in charge, which is awesome. But I feel good about spending points on putting a very expensive character into wardens. I don't feel as good about it putting it into guards.
I'm completely there with you. Now, let's talk about some freaking orcs. All right, guys. This is probably the most fun game matchup in the entire game. Custodes into Orks is a blast, regardless of which army you're playing. So even if Orks beat Custodes, for example, you're going to kill so many models, you're going to have the most fun game of your life. And if Custodes beat Orks, they're going to crump and they're going to have a blast. All right, it is just the most perfect matchup. But let's break this down. For me, my opinion, there's a couple different meta Orks lists out there. The one I'm running is a little bit different. But I think it's probably the best way to run them. But you've got triple hogs, so you got 18 hogs that are going out there. You've got carpets of boys, so like 120 boys and snagas. Then you've got some of these like little blends. This matchup, in my mindset, comes down to did you bring Valerian or not?
Mm-hmm.
Because let me break this thing down for you. If you have Valerian with a unit of 5 wardens that are standing on an objective, don't worry about shooting. You don't have to worry about it. Unless they have their flash gates, they're going to have one shooting unit, then you just don't be in line of sight for that one unit, and then you're fine. Okay. They're going to charge you with 6 different units, and they're going to tag all 6 of those units into your warden, and they're all going to be AP1, and you're going to ignore that AP on your entire squad. And then you're going to be -1 to be wounded, and you're going to have a 4-up Feel No Pain. So
Can't hold all these 2-up saves.
They're going to maximally be wounding you on 4s. I mean, they're going to be hitting you on 3s. You'll be -1 to be hit, so they're hitting you on 4s. And then you're gonna be wounding you on 4s. So cut in half, then cut in half, and then you're saving on 2s. So like 2% of the original damage goes through, and then you have a 4 Feel No Pain on top of that. They're gonna do like 1% of the maximum damage. They could run their entire army into that one squad and kill nothing.
Yeah.
However, if you're saving on a 3-up, your entire squad dies. It's that big a difference with the math. If you bring Valerian, this is Custodes favored. If you don't, it's Orcs favored. Either way, it's going to be a good game, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, I think that's basically what I have there.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I thought you had more.
That's pretty much
it. What I wanted to say is that I've only played against the here's 120 boys or whatever it is,
yep.
and 30 beast snaggers.
Sure.
And as you just said, I had Valerian on one objective, and he stayed there for the rest of the game, no matter how much stuff he threw into him. Then I had, I will also say, I had a Terminator squad stand in the middle. They also stayed there for the entire game because he couldn't remove them. Actually, the one that died first was my Trajann squad because they didn't survive the first 60 attacks going into it. I lost like 3.5, 4 guys, and at that point, the objective is just his.
Right.
I'll never take it back.
Yeah. So there's actually one other thing I really should say about this matchup. This matchup, in my opinion, comes down to who saved the CP better.
Hmm?
So custodes, you have to have 4 CP. You must. You must be able to fight first, and you must be able to -1 damage somewhere else. And ideally, you want to fight first. Be -1 to damage, and then also be -1 to damage with your Loris captain as well. If you don't have those 4 CP to do that, you probably die. Orks must have 2 CP to fight on death. They must have 1 CP to be -1 to wound, and they must have 1 CP to explode on 5s. If they don't have those, they can't push through you. So this is a game where you have to have those 4 CP for your go turn. So really, really make sure you have your CP in the go turn, or it dramatically swings in favor for the other army. And by the way, fight on death screws Custodes really, really bad.
Oh, they do. Oh, it does.
So let's just say you have a unit of your Alaris Terminators, and I charge you with a big unit of knobs, and you're like, I'm going to fight first. And you kill my entire unit of knobs, and then I fight on death. When I fight on death, it's a 1-by-1 model activation, guys. What does this mean? It means I have not targeted your Terminators with my unit's attacks, which means you have not been selected as a unit's attacks, as the target of unit's attacks, which means you cannot spend CP to be -1 damage. Fights on death is a nightmare for Custodes and for things like Grey Knights who want to activate their armor to Silver Seal. Well, they can't do it if I'm fighting on death, if my unit hasn't been selected to fight yet.
So,
super annoying.
Rules question here. Let's say that 1 knob survives. Do I then get to use my -1 damage
for that 1 knob?
Just for that 1? Okay, I did not know it worked
because
like
all the other ones fought on death, but you still haven't selected their unit to fight because their unit hasn't activated yet. Just they're activating model by model. It's super annoying.
But you get targeted by attacks, don't you? Even when
targeted by models' attacks, but you're not being selected as the target of a unit's attacks.
Okay, and that is the wording of the stratagem. I don't remember the wording off the top of my head.
It's super annoying. And you have various TOs who will change the word, who will rule differently on this one. So honestly, this is a thing that to check with TOs because they will rule differently on this one. But rules is written, you can't do it, which is really frustrating.
However, I do feel like that is one of the rules where it's like they want to say it's like this, but if you read between the lines, you can get away with it.
But we don't know, right? And that's the problem with the way that the community. And honestly, it's our fault as a community. We become such rules whores that GW traps themselves in the way they write things, and now we just can't even assume what they intend because it's a problem. We caused this problem, but it's where we are now. Anyway, that's Orks, everyone. Let's move on. GSC. I don't think you had much experience into GSC, am I correct?
I have literally no games in 9th or 10th edition. I've seen them put blips down. They don't have blips anymore, but then they do have blips, but they're not the same blips. I have no clue.
Yeah, it's a real bad matchup for Custodes in all reality. So on their drop turn, basically they're going to ignore cover. They're going to be at plus 2 AP. They're going to have tons of exploding damage 2 that's coming in your way. They're going to be able to deep strike from 3 inches away. Here's one little combo, and this is just one unit. I'll read it to you, just so you guys understand how bad a matchup this is. They're going to have 3 of these units, or they can have 3 of these units at least. They're going to have 6 D6 flamers that are going to be at +1 to wound, and it's going to be AP 1, ignoring cover. So these are hand flamers, strength 3, so they're going to be winning you on 5s, right? Or it might even be strength 4 now, so it would be winning you on 4s. I don't remember which, but that's irrelevant because that's not the damage. Here's the damage: 46 plus 12. Blast, hazardous, ballistic skill 4 up, which is going to have full rerolls, strength 12 at +1 to wound, AP 3 damage 2.
So do I just pick up my models when I get to the game, or?
Oh wait, it's a 3-inch deep strike.
Oh, so I do just pick up my models when I put them down on the board for the first time.
And they can take 3 of those units, right? It's a terrible matchup. It's just awful. Don't ever pair Custodes into GSC unless your team is screwed and you're like, dude, someone has to ride the bus. And you'll just start seeing the wheels on the bus go round and round.
Yeah, it's like, I wanted to get a new beer anyway. So.
Yeah, dude, it's just not something to pair. Honestly, it's a 0. It's not a 0. It's probably something like 16 to the GSC because you will score some points, right? But it's a horrible matchup. Tau. Tau is awesome. Tau's a really, really awesome matchup. And the reason why it's awesome, not because it's super fun, but because it's extremely simple. Kill them by turn 3 or lose. All
right. That's cool because what I said in my video was I I put Tau as a red matchup, but I said it's actually an 8-12 for the Tau and not for the Custodes.
Mhm.
Because I feel like, as you said, if you don't kill them by turn 3, you lose.
Yep.
But that also means that you have 3 turns of scoring points before you get potentially tabled.
And here's the deal with Tau, right? So everything's vehicle now. Yeah. So even though those crisis blobs even still auto advance, they move 18 inches. They're still vehicles. They can't move through walls.
Yeah.
They can't land where you, even though they can fly over you, they can't land where your unit are. So you can move block the crap out of them. I mean, I played a game against Tau where I was completely tabled in turn 4 and won. In turn 4, and I still won. And the reason for that is because I held primary 100% during the first 3 rounds of the game. He didn't score in primary until turn 5.
Yeah.
It's a really kind of interesting matchup.
Yeah, and that's basically the same reasoning I had. I was like, I'll just score as many points as I can by turn 3, and if I did good, I might have killed some stuff, and I just win the game because they don't have enough stuff to kill me. Or I've scored enough points that I can hopefully win, even if they do kill everything.
I love the matchup where I run my double Venatori rapid ingresses against them.
Yeah,
because what you can do is the last thing a Tau player ever wants to do is split fire with a crisis blob, because that crisis blob will kill what it targets. But if they split fire, I think they're like they hit on 5s or something. It gets really bad once they split fire. They got some negative thing. So when you put your Venatori, you put them in positions where they're like, crap, I actually have to kill those Venatori now. But you have an Alaris blob in front of them. But the Venatori are in the position to go get behind me lines and kill their whatever and do whatever and take their home field objective. And it's like, what am I going to do? You have to force your opponent to make terrible decisions. When you do that, and that's what Venatori let you do. It's back to I think it was Syndra who was asking earlier. Venatori allow you to force your opponent to make horrible decisions, and that is why Venatori are freaking awesome.
Speaking of Venatori, real quick, Sindri also asked spears or pistols. The answer is spears every damn time. If you run a 6-man block, I would argue you could take 1 shield guy just to get 1 4-wound guy. But otherwise, if you take 3-man squads, it's spears all the time.
Marvelously put, 100%. So yeah, the Tau matchup, I'm actually just going to go with I go with the 10-10. I call it a draw. And the reason why I call it a draw isn't because it's an actual draw. I call it a coin flip, right? Custodes absolutely can crush the Tau here, and Tau can crush the Custodes.
Yeah. As I said, I gave Tau 12, Custodes 8, but 10-10 sounds good in my head as well.
Yep, I don't think you were very far off, and I just think it just required a little nuance. Let's talk about something that's not a 10-10. We got the CSM. Guys, this is just the worst possible matchup right here. I think this is even worse than GSC. The only reason why this is better than the GSC matchup, I think, is because they can't get angles on you with the CSM like they can with GSC. Which means you do have an opportunity to spike your 4-ups on the turn that you're out in the open.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you spike your 4-ups on the turn that you're out in the open, you can win this game.
Okay, yeah.
You really can. But the problem is that you probably won't, right? So these Forge Fiends, just give you the quick rundown, not to get too doomer on you. These Forge Fiends, what they kind of do is they're going to have 3d3 shots. Each gun is blast.
Yep.
Right? And they're going to be exploding on 6s or 5s, depending on which mark they have. And they're basically going to have full rerolls to hit and rerolls to wound at strength 10, AP 3, damage 3. Oh, yeah, dev wounds.
I think most people take the what do you call it, undivided one. So they only explode on 6s, but they have full hit and wound rerolls with a CP.
Yeah, and dev wounds on right. So
and dev wounds, yes, and yes.
It just picks up a squad, and then the Chosen. Oh my gosh, the Chosen slap so hard. They have advanced. It's a terrible matchup. I don't ever expect. I call it 16-4, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah, I said 15-5 for CSM.
That's great. I mean, honestly, 15-5, 16-4. I think we're 100% in alignment.
Yeah. As I said in my video, I believe, again, it depends on skill levels. Right now, you are talking about, both players being competitive, good players. I think at my skill level, I think the CSM player has some room to make some mistakes if he charges the Chosen squads into a wrong thing.
Yes.
Where you have fight burst and you have -1 damage, or just take the -1 to hit karate, and they underestimate how tanky Custodes can be in that first round of combat. I think there is a little play there, but it kind of depends on your opponent making the mistake.
Exactly, and that's the problem, right? This matchup kind of requires your opponent to make a mistake, and you don't ever want to have to rely on that. Real quick message to Piotr. So Piotr has said that against popular armies like Chaos and Eldar and GSC, Custodes suck. No, GSC is one of the least popular armies in the game. And against, if you watch the beginning of the video against Eldar, I actually said that Custodes do quite well. I think it's a little edge to Eldar, but Custodes have absolutely everything they need to be Eldar. Guys, remember, there's no other army in the entire freaking game that has the potential for 4 rapid ingresses in a single turn. There is so much power there. So much power. You can have 4 rapid ingresses. You could even do this. This is a real strategy right here, guys. You can use from Golden Light to pick up your Alaris brick, teleport them 9 inches, and then you could spend 1 CP to rapid ingress a 3-man brick of Alaris, and then you could, for free, rapid ingress 3 separate units of Venatari in the same turn. Do you know how much power that gives you to outmaneuver your opponent? Custodes has that, and nothing else in the game can do that. That is only Custodes. There is so much power in that strategy that we really are not fully utilizing. And if you guys do utilize that, we will get completely different results in these GTs. Custodes are not a bad army anymore. It's just they are currently an unforgiving army. And
yeah, I think that's very well put. It's you cannot just run out with your 10-man squad anymore and be like, oh well, -1 damage, hoo-hoo. You need to make some decisions, and if you make a wrong decision, it costs a lot. Which is like that's where they need to be buffed a little bit. Where,
yeah, they do.
Of course, if you make the mistake, you get punished. But right now, you get punished a lot.
Yeah, and that's the problem. But yeah, that's where they are. All right, that little rant of mine is over. Let's do Death Guard. Yes. Yeah, I actually give the. I think you said that this was a good matchup for Custodes, right?
Yeah, I haven't played the matchup. Cool. I don't know. I'm just thinking that Custodes and Death Guard do the same thing, kind of ish. We both want to push up the board. We both want to get into melee on the objectives. And I said it was 15-5 for Custodes. But now I'm hearing other people saying that's wrong. That's not right. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so I think it's a very, very, very tight matchup that you could maybe argue Custodes are slightly favored in.
Okay.
Right. So I'm comfortable with the slightly favored for Custodes here. But let me break it down for you, like why I don't think it is a good matchup. Okay. Death Guard now with their new abilities, they're always going to choose -1 to your weapon skill. So suddenly your Custodes are all hitting on 3s. And they're going to have a Nurgling or a Typhus somewhere. So suddenly your Custodes are hitting on 4s.
Yeah.
They're hitting on 4s because you're going to be -1 to hit and -1 weapon skill.
Yeah. That's one of the few cases in the game where you can actually get -2 to hit. It doesn't really exist anywhere else anymore.
Exactly. So the thing is that Custodes, our units are actually really good. We've got great data sheets. And the reason why they're great is because they have to be. We have so few activations that we have to be able to rely on our units to do what they should do, which is the Custodes strength. We're exceptionally reliable. There's very little variation in how we perform. But with Death Guard, there's massive variation and you're no longer reliable. And everything that you're expecting to happen will not happen anymore. Basically, you can go ahead and expect to do 40% less than you were planning on. Yeah, and Piotr has a great point right here. And if you're taking axes, you hit on 5s, bro. Don't take axes; they're so bad.
I've cried enough that axes are unviable. Stop! Don't make it worse,
dude. I had to like clip the axe blade off of all my axe guys, and I glued the axe blade to the end of the pole to make a spear. Like it's so bad.
You keep talking. I'm just gonna go pick up my first 3 models of Custodes real quick.
Please do. It was absolutely brutal. All right, so basically that's what happens with Death Guard, right? They do that. Also, real quick, the entire army has lethal hits, which is they do pretty good. That's pretty good at Custodes. And then lastly, they get Flamers with anti-infantry too. That's a lot. So they've got a lot that's coming your way. Death Guard are way more killy than you think they are. Oh, there he is. Look at that little Chad.
I'm not sure how good my camera is picking up, but
I think it looks great.
One of the first models I assembled for my Custodes. And I was just like, this guy is so fucking cool, and I haven't used him yet.
Oh, dude, I think he looks great, man.
Thank you.
I'm a horrible painter. I like to play the game. I'm not the most hobby focused, but I think that looks great. That was really cool. So yeah, that's Death Guard. Lots of lethal hits, lots of anti-infantry 2-up, and they make you hit on 4s. It's a problem. But yeah, I do actually agree. I think I still give Custodes the edge here, but it's just the edge, like just the edge. I'm not going to make the joke that everyone was expecting. Just
we're just on the edge. No, never mind.
Yeah,
I'll stop there as well.
All right, so let's go on. Thousand Suns.
Hmm.
Thousand Suns are really, really cool. I think they're a really cool army. The thing about Thousand Suns, I think you said that you gave was it a big advantage or a small advantage to Thousand Suns?
I said 13-7 for Thousand Suns.
Oh, 100% agreed. 100% with you. Completely aligned. I think you hit it right on the nail with that. Right on the nail with that one. So the real thing about Thousand Suns, for those of you who don't know, their entire purpose in existing is to get you to do what you want to do. And that's super frustrating because Custodes have a game plan, and this game plan works super, super well. What we do is we hold primary and we deny everyone else primary, and then we score 7 out of 16 secondaries while we're holding those primary. And Thousand Suns, they're praying that we hold primary.
I cannot tell you how many times I've cried because I've been like, oh, I was smart after I killed this unit. I consolidate onto the objective. I'm like, oh, I'm
Yes.
playing the game. And then he's like, and now I flame you with 3 units and I have full rerolls.
Yes. So if you're playing against Thousand Suns, please, please, please don't consolidate onto the objective.
It's such a like no-brainer move in every other matchup, basically.
Bro,
And this one is just like,
100%.
oh, thank you so much, good sir.
Dude, it's so freaking true. If you could just resist the urge, just resist the urge. It's so tempting. I
My
know it's
primary point, dude.
I know. So basically everything I've said about Custodes that I've repeated ad nauseum, we hold primary, we score 7. It doesn't apply against Thousand Suns. Don't hold primary. I mean, you gotta hold primary, right? But like you you got to be careful with it. They also have this really annoying ability to move twice, so they can deep
Oh
strike
yeah. Ugh.
and then in their shooting phase move and then shoot.
You,
It-
you you think you've screened them out. You think you've covered your angles. Then all of a sudden Magnus is right next to you, and you're like, how?
yeah, so it's just be a little careful with them. I do, yeah. It's the edge to Thousand Suns. It's definitely a playable matchup. Anyone who says it's not a playable matchup is incorrect. It is a playable matchup. It's edge to Thousand Suns there. Relatively significant edge. Okay, we're actually getting pretty close here. The rest of them actually go pretty fast. World Eaters, I actually have a really thing I kind of want to go here. Hey Noah, Noah has a question. He says he missed it. But what are these scores based on? Hey bro, so
Mm.
these scores are so if you missed it, Eric here on his channel, Reynolds, it's down linked in the description down below. Check him out. He's awesome. He did basically a pairing metrics for Custodes where he ran through what he thought was going on with how Custodes matched up into every other army based off of experience, win rates, etc. And then what we're doing today is we're going through what he paired, but I'm taking it from a top level competitive perspective. So I'm talking about how would I pair these matchups in top level competitive settings.
Yes, and the scoring itself is based on something called WTC, which is generally used for team tournaments. It does sometimes get used in singles, but most of the time it's just for team tournaments. And to make it short, it's just that you get 1 point for every 5 points you win over your opponent to a maximum of 20.
Very well explained. All right, so World Eaters. The thing that you guys got to understand about World Eaters, they hit harder than us, but we're a lot more durable than they are. Okay, that's basically it. Keep that in mind. Exalted 8 bound, minimum move 17 inches turn 1. Okay, and they have a 67% chance of getting advance and charge. And if they do, they have a 1 CP stratagem to auto advance 6. Okay, so when you're setting up, you have to plan on that, which means we actually deploy differently against World Eaters than we do any other army. So I'm actually going to switch to my TTS view real quick just to show this to you guys because I think this is
Yeah.
really valuable because I find a lot of people just suffer in this matchup when they don't need to because it's a Custodes win. Custodes win this matchup if you play it correctly. If you play it wrong, you get annihilated.
Yeah, I just real quick, I put this as a yellow matchup, 12-8 for Custodes. It might be a bit higher based on what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it is actually, but it has to be played perfectly. But it's not hard to
Yeah.
play it perfectly. That's the point. It's actually pretty easy to play it perfectly. So I'm just
Okay.
going to switch to my TTS view real fast. And I'm going to show everyone. I kind of got it set up here. So essentially, what you're looking at here on the board, well, let me see if I can brighten my screen, make it a little easier for people to see. All right, cool. So this is a hammer and anvil setting, just on some WTC terrain here. It works on any terrain. Don't worry about it. Doesn't have to be WTC. It works on any terrain. So Lord Invocatus is this model right here. He's going to give a scout move to 2 different units. So he's going to give a scout move to these Exalted 8 bound who are going to have like 36 Strength 7, AP 2, Damage 2 attacks. And then he's also going to give a 6 and scout move to this other unit of 8 bound, which will just have like half of that. Okay. So they're going to minimum move 17 inches across the board. And let's say that they do get their advance in charge, because chances are high that they're going to get the advance in charge. It's like 67% chance. Then they're going to move on average like 3 more inches. So let's just call it here. So turn 1, if you're on the line, they get a 5-inch charge. We're going to do the exact same thing for this squad as well. So call it 17 plus 3, so like 20 inches or something like that. All right. And then lastly, with Angron, they're going to do the same thing, right? He's going to move 16 inches, and then they're going to spend 1 CP to auto advance him 6 inches. So he's going to go another 22. He's going to go another 6 inches. So when they do this, you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready for this. Here's how you're ready for it. Only Trajann squad is exposed, and then also only your Sisters of Silence are exposed. Because Trajan's going to fight first no matter what, because you don't need CP for that. And if they go first, you only get 1 CP, so you can't spend 2 CP to fight first, right? So Trajann squad stands right here, and if they charge him, you fight first, and you're going to kill 4 of them, and then he's not going to kill you back. If they charge your Sisters of Silence, you give 0 shits, because then you just charge them and kill them back next turn, right? Same thing over here. Let's say the Exalted 8-bound go into your Alaris. Okay, cool. These Alaris are going to be -1 damage for free, and they're going to be -1 to hit, so they're hitting on 4s, right? Because you're going to activate the -1 to hit kata here, which means that, all right, you're going to lose 2 of these Alaris, but then you slaughter them in return. And then we can get even spicier. So let's say that these are not prosecutors. Let's say they're witch seekers. You still have a scout move.
Go out and move block them, yeah.
Just like this, right? So now what happens is you want to make sure that you're in such a position where you're blocking the move, but you also really want to make sure that Angron can't land anywhere where he wants to land. So one thing, what we can do in this situation, let's say we're okay with Angron going over here, but we don't want him going to... Oh, we're okay with him going into Trajann, because Trajann squad fights first. So we're going to create a landing pad for him where if he wants to jump he can jump into the Wardens, but he actually can't jump into the Terminators because he can't end his move on the Witch Seekers. So even if he rolls an 8-inch charge, he can't land there. So he would have to roll so it's impossible charge because he can't land anywhere, right? So the only way he can do it is if he rolls a 7-inch charge, he can jump over like this. And once again, we don't care if he goes in Trajann's unit because you're going to activate the 4-up Feel No Pain. He's going to be -1 to wound, -1 to hit, and Trajann's unit is going to fight first anyway. So at this point in time, you're going to kill his entire, 1,000 points of his army turn 1. If you don't deploy like this, and you deploy like a normal deployment, and you don't do this move blocking, and you just put your normal guys on the line, you're going to lose 1,000 points of your army turn 1 and lose immediately.
So just a quick question. Let's imagine your list does not run Trajann. Do you just use the Sister of Silence as good as possible to block him, and then use the rest of your Custodes turn 2, or do you sacrifice something else?
Oh, man. That's a tough question, but to be honest with you, in my opinion, you're going to have to make a good freaking argument to not have Trajann.
Okay, fair.
Like, I know people are kind of iffy on him right now, and I don't get it, man. He's so freaking good.
I am one of those people who I'm not iffy on him. I agree he's great, but I often see him and the Shield Captain with an enhancement as side grades.
So what enhancement would you say on the Shield Captain makes him a side grade
so
too?
I usually go for Ceaseless Hunter.
Oh, you're not talking about an Alaris Shield Captain. You're talking about a normal Shield Captain?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm talking about a completely normal Shield Captain. So just to be real, just to be quick, yeah. I really, really like having double karate. I think that helps me out personally because honestly, I make mistakes. And I think having double kata really helps negate those mistakes I can often make in melee where I'm maybe committing a unit into killing something that I couldn't kill or, I didn't expect them to survive. Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm just gonna. I don't know, man. It's tough for me to say, right? So let's take Trajann's. If you're going in Death Guard, he's the only unit in your army that's not hitting on 4s.
No, that's fair. Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So he gives you he saves that matchup for you. Suddenly that matchup was just really iffy. Oh, so now you have this unit that can just say screw it. It's really powerful
against World Eaters as well, as you just explained.
He by himself means that you win the World Eaters matchup. Then let's say you take him in against Tyranids, for example, just one really annoying thing that people forget about. You ignore leadership character modifiers to him.
Yes. So they do fail Balance Shock, you still have OC 15 or whatever.
Yeah, you still have the exact same OC, so you don't you don't lose the objective. And then let's say they have that stupid Neuro Tyrant who makes you fail on a 6 instead of a 5. Not for you. You're still failing on 5s. That's powerful. This is actually really, really strong, and I think people forget about those things. When the stupid Night Spinner hits him, he still gets to move 6 inches. So
No,
even if
yeah,
you're playing
you
in,
are no, you're giving a lot of good arguments. I have no counterpoint. I surrender. You're right.
well, and that's just my reasoning. I think he's necessary. He's necessary, even if you're playing with the rule sets that say he doesn't ignore damage modifiers, which rules is written he 100% does. But I know that's a whole thing in tournaments right now.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing.
Mr. Nico, real quick. Yes, because OC is a modifier. Trajann ignores changes to his modifier. So
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. Ignores all modifiers. It's very, very exciting. And he doesn't need to, and even if he fails it, he still gets to fight first because it's not a stratagem that lets him fight first, right? So it's just the utility behind him is so powerful. I don't, especially when you're spending more points. No, it's the same points, right? It's the same points. Basically, if you're going to upgrade the shield captain, then it's
Actually, shield captain is 10 points more.
Oh yeah, it's not even close in my mind then. And honestly, I really want Ceaseless Hunter with my Alaris. Like I really want my Alaris.
No. So the list where I run it on the captain is a list where I don't run Alaris.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. All right, I'm with you. Okay, that actually does make sense to me then. So that's all right. That's a lot more logical. But yeah, that's the way I think about it. All right, so let's go on. Chaos Demons, guys. Realistically, this is a smashing win for Custodes. Like I don't see.
Okay, I said it was a 13-7 for Custodes.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on that one. Just a kind of a funny aside, I've never lost to Demons as Custodes, not once.
Okay, yeah. I only have one game against them in 10th, and I played was it either played 10-10 or 11-9. I actually don't remember.
Yeah, I was looking at my stats on my tabletop battle app because I log all my games. I had 23 games against them in 9th, and I won all of them.
Nice.
And I've had 3 so far in 10th, and I've crushed them all. To be fair, in 9th, I played Shadow Keepers, and Shadow Keepers.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't play Emperor's Chosen. And this is, so for some of you guys who are listening to this, the way I play is a little bit different than some other people. I accept that if I make mistakes, I'm going to lose. And I did the same thing in 9th edition. So the way I play isn't for everyone, and I completely understand that, right? I played Shadow Keepers. I didn't want the crutch of the 4-up mortals. Instead, I wanted to make sure I killed every single melee army without question. And I wanted to dominate every single demon army without question. And that's why I played Shadow Keepers. I do the same thing now with my current list. Yeah, go ahead.
I have one thing to say, and that is Dread Host, best host.
Listen, bro, if we see Dread Host in this edition,
I'd be so happy. I'd be so
happy.
Oh
my god. Forget about it. I'm a Dread Host freaking maxi if we see it in this edition, dude. 100% with you.
So, yeah, I play a lot of Dread Host in 9th edition, and while the +1 AP didn't really do a whole lot because everyone and their mother had invulns in 9th edition.
It does now.
9th edition anyway. So the +1 AP didn't really do a whole lot, but the reroll charges from Deep Strike, baby. Oh, I was rolling those all day.
I'm gonna get you playing Orks. I swear I will. Like, because yeah, bro, that's you, man. I'm gonna get it. But yeah, just one quick thing about demons for everyone. This combination is freaking crazy. They have a thing called a Renmaster, and a Renmaster, he gets to pick one unit that he can see, and I think it's within 18 inches. And when he does, all core units are +1 strength, +1 AP, +1 damage against that unit. And the tricky thing is, it's not an aura, which means it stacks.
Oh.
So there's a list that runs 3 Renmasters that points at a unit, and all core demons are +3 strength, +3 AP, and +3 demons against it.
Oh no.
Or damage. Yeah. I mean, so demons have some freaking things that they can do.
Okay. I honestly thought the only build that worked for demons was, named Keeper of Secrets, Bellacore, and Bird Boy.
No, I think that's the only one that you're probably seeing as a whole. But like, I'm seeing some things, especially in some of the team tournaments out there. You get to see some different types of lists that go around, and man, there's some pretty cool stuff there. But no, this is a Custodes win. Cats off to the Golden Boys. You needed one, so I'm actually going to put this as a 14-6. You had it as a 13-7. I think we're pretty much fine. Let's do.
I will say also real quick on the demon thing. The reason why you probably see a lot of Bellacore, I forgot her name already.
Shalaxi.
Yes, that one, and the Bird Boy is because every demons player has like one of each of the big demons, right?
And it was really good before the balance status league.
Right. Yeah.
But Shalaxi's too expensive now, and it's just But yeah, so that's the way that goes. Let's talk about Chaos Knights real fast. I think this is one I disagreed on you. I think you had this as a good matchup.
Okay. Yeah, I have not played against any of the knights in 10th
Yep.
edition. My reasoning was that I felt like we would do very good against Imperial knights, and then I thought we would do slightly worse against Chaos knights.
Okay. Correct. I completely agree with you on that. I just it's just to different varying degrees, right? So against
Mhm.
Chaos Knights, let me just break it down for you. You're not going to see big knights. If you saw big knights, we'd be good into Chaos Knights. But against
Okay.
Chaos Knights, you're going to see 13 war dogs. That's
Yeah.
what you see. 13 war
Mm.
dogs. It's going to be 6 brigands, probably 6 carnivores and a stalker. Maybe it's 4 carnivores and 2 huntsmen, but that's basically it. What a carnivore does is he moves 14 inches. He moves straight through walls, so you can't block him with walls. He gets to reroll charges. He's going to get 6 attacks that hit you on twos, wound you on twos, and deal d6 plus 2 damage.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that hurts.
he's going to slap you. He's also going to tank shock you and all that stuff. They're going to have 6 of these guys, and then they also have a Melta on top. And then the brigands, they all have these demon breast spears that are going to be hitting you on twos, wounding you on twos, taking you your invuln, d6 plus 4 damage.
Okay. Yeah.
So in all reality, and they're going to out OC you, they're outspeed you. It's a bad matchup.
What's the OC of the small dogs?
8.
Oh, okay. That's way higher than I thought. I thought it was like
8.
OC 5 or 6.
8. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, no,
really
that
good.
is annoying because that means you need to have 3 models on the objective. And that sounds like that guy picks up 3 to 4 every time he goes into combat.
Yeah, maybe a little bit less, but yeah, right. Because you're gonna make them -1 to hit, but it's like even still that you're not guaranteed to kill them back, right? Because wardens are winning
Okay.
level 5s. You're gonna have to
Oh,
have
no,
CP to win them.
sorry. I didn't mean one guy going. I meant one guy like the shooting and then
Oh
one
yeah, yeah,
guy
yeah,
going
yeah,
in.
yeah. Every time the army activates, you lose 4 to 5 custodes, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that since they can just walk through walls, yeah, it's a bad matchup. It really is.
Okay. Yeah. Nope. That's fair.
So
Yep.
I put 7, 7, 13.
Okay. Cool.
Or sorry, 13, 7 because we're doing their scores first.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, cool. Then we'll go for Space Marines. I basically 100% agree with you on Space Marines. I think it's a 10-10.
Yeah. My experience with Space Marines is just that, like, I swear every time I play them, they have a new trick. I swear.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And
They evolve
have,
a lot.
and they just have some really damn good units, just like by default.
Yeah, they do. There is a caveat to my agreeing with you. I think there is a build that is just extremely problematic for us.
Yeah.
And it is Vanguard when they're running Deathwing Knights.
Vanguard. What is that? The Iron Hands one?
No, Vanguard is going to be the one, the Raven Guard, right? So everyone's -1
the
to be
one with
hit
you yeah, okay, yeah.
because you're going to get Deathwing Knights that
Knights
infiltrate.
starting up the board and all that.
Deathwing Knights that start 9 inches away from your deployment zone. If he goes first, he advances them straight towards you. It doesn't charge you, and just lines your entire map with Deathwing Knights, and you don't kill him. You don't win the match, and he kills you back.
Yeah.
And if he goes second, you just move up. The second you declare your charge, he rolls a d6, and if he rolls a 6, suddenly you fail your charge, right? Because they get to move. It's a very challenging matchup. If they're running Vanguard, I think it's a bad matchup. I think it's probably a pretty even matchup overall, though.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mr. Nikolsky has a comment. He's saying shooting units that can annihilate your custodes. Yeah, you're right. The shooting can, but remember, it's easy to hide your models. It's not hard to hide your models from their shooting units. So it's like I kind of do tend to agree that it's a fair wash of a matchup, just with the edge if they're running Vanguard.
Because I was just thinking, like, okay, so you get let's just say 5 Deathwing Terminators with -1 damage.
No, it'll be 10. It won't be 5. It'll be 10.
Okay, it's fair. It doesn't really change my point.
Okay,
but
sorry.
You have a unit of Alaris charging into them, and what does that realistically pick up? That pick up two Terminators,
2, roughly.
Terminators?
No, it won't be 3, right? Because they're going to be armor of contempted, right? So they're only failing saves on 3s. You're going to
take a character with them, or do they not?
Yeah, they're actually they do take a character. So if you run the Alaris brick into them, you could probably get 3, maybe 4 if you roll well.
That's still again. They're like, oh, I lost 4. Walk back, and then they shoot your Alaris.
And they on the swing back, they're going to kill 2 or 3 or 4 Alaris. Because remember, they have 4 attacks each.
I didn't even think about the swing back.
Yeah, bro, because they have 4 attacks each. They hit on 2s. It's going to be AP 1, damage 3.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, we do get free up saves, and it takes 2 attacks to kill 1 Terminator. But like, if it
Yep.
was anything other than Terminators, it feels bad.
Pretty much, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
This one I think goes pretty quick. Grey Knights.
yep. Mhm.
What did you say about Grey Knights?
I said Grey Knights. I said it was a yellow matchup because if you don't know what they're doing, they will catch you with your pants down. But otherwise, I said 14 points Custodes, 6 Grey Knights.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm like, that's it. 100 freaking percent. Totally. Uh, my big points on this matchup, guys. Don't respect Grey Knights.
Mm.
When you respect them, that's when you lose.
Yeah.
That's when you lose. All of their shooting plinks off your armor and does nothing. Their scary shooting is their psi cannons, and it's only AP1, so you just leave 2 guys in cover and nothing happens to you.
Mm.
When they charge you in melee, you fight first and slaughter them. When they don't charge you in melee, you're winning.
And if you're a real devil and you know you're playing against Grey Knights, you go ahead and pick 30 Vigilators, 30 Witch Seekers, and 30 Prosecutors.
Don't listen to him. That's terrible advice. Don't ever do that. But yeah, one other thing about the Grey Knights, if you're going to be charging them, remember, you charge them off your resurrection, or you charge them from 9 inches away, because they have the strat to be able to pick themselves up when you move within 9 inches of them. So if you have to make that charge, you go for the 9-inch, or you try to resurrect closer and then charge. If you want to make the charge but you don't have to, go ahead and move closer and try to get the charge. Make them spend their CP. That's Grey Knights. Okay, Black Templars. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, no, it's sorry. Go ahead and tell everyone your matrix and then your reasoning for what you had written.
Sorry, I was out of the loop. Yes, so Black Templars. I said this is a red matchup, and I said it was 15 for the Black Templars.
Yeah, basically. Basically the way you kind of think about this matchup is Black Templars are slightly less durable Custodes, and they have a lot more models.
Yeah, my reasoning was that I can see myself playing winning or losing against Space Marines. Against Black Templars, it's just like, oh, they have Crusaders, and they have like a lot of them.
Yeah, it's a hard matchup. I don't actually think the Crusader blob is really the one that really gets us.
Okay.
But I think it's just one extra threat that we can't handle in addition to everything else. If that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. I also know their character. I don't know exactly all of their characters, but they have a lot of characters, and I feel like quite a lot of them are pretty good against us.
Yeah, they do. It's just, and they're all just very tough. You're gonna have Chromaldus, who's gonna be leading one unit. They're gonna be having like just crazy hit rerolls, and there's gonna be a 5-up Feel No Pain from something. They're almost as durable as Custodes, and they've got way more bodies. They don't hit as hard, but they've got so many more bodies, and they have triple Redemptors behind them that we can't handle. It's just a problem. So yeah, Black Templars edge us out. Pretty heavy. I agree. It's probably somewhere in the 14-6-ish area.
Okay.
I need to play this matchup a little bit more because I'm curious what I can do against it, but it just doesn't look good.
Do let us know when you find out.
Sisters of Battle. This is an interesting army. This is a super interesting army.
Yes, I actually had one game against Sisters of Battle, and I was very surprised by how much they could actually do. I thought it was going to be a complete pushover. I gave this an 11-9 in favor of Custodes, but I said it was a yellow matchup.
Cool. I like the way you rated it. Sisters are the perfect example of why everyone needs to chill out when they start seeing win rate percentages. Okay? So everyone's all like, oh, the game is busted. Eldar's the best army in the game. Blah, 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 blah. Everything sucks. No. Because as soon as the balanced data slate went through, what happened to the Sisters? Essentially nothing. I think they may have saved themselves like 10 points, right? But basically nothing happened to Sisters. And suddenly you're seeing them jump from like a 37% win rate to like a 52% win rate. The reason why you're seeing that, or actually it was maybe even 55. I don't remember the exact percentages.
Yeah. No, but like for veterans players, it jumped up a lot.
Yeah, because what happened is that you had people who the problem was Eldar. It wasn't the rest of the game. What's happened is you have people who are good at Sisters, who play Sisters, who are now building Sisters list, as opposed to everyone else. You have faction specialists coming back into the game, right? And that's essentially just what happened. Sisters is a hard army to play. If you're not good with them, it's a very hard army to play. So their win rate is kind of dragged down by that overall. But yeah, dude, they're really, really strong. The trick with Sisters is you got to think you don't plink them to death, because that's how Custodes kill tanks. We kill them 2 wounds at a time.
Yeah.
You don't do that against sisters. The second you do that against sisters, their castigators suddenly hit you on twos, wound you on
Mhm.
twos, ignore your cover, and flat 3 damage. So you don't kill them until you know you kill them in one go. So a lot of times when I'm playing sisters, I don't shoot.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was my experience. I was like, oh, I can shoot these Melter girls and probably kill like 2 or 3 of them. But then I realized he shoots back at me, and while he's shooting back at me, he's getting +1 to hit, +1 to wound, and in the end, he'll probably kill, let's just say, 2 or 3 custodes, and I kill 3 sisters.
Yeah,
That is not a good trade for me.
no. And if you understand that about sisters, I think you can do quite well. Yeah, I think you do quite well. I actually would probably at a high level, I'd actually maybe even give a slight edge to Custodes on this one.
Yeah, fair.
But when I give a slight edge, guys, what I mean is a slight edge. You might as well call it a wash, right? But yeah, I think it's a super fun matchup. Don't plink them to death, and Arcoflagellants kill you way more than you think they do.
I will say, I think that slightly, ever so slightly, in our favor is that I think most sisters builds right now rely a lot on the indirect firing tanks. I forget their name.
Uh, Executioners? No, not Executioners.
Anyways, big church tanks.
Yeah, big church
And
tanks.
they are, from my experience, are not really scary against custodians at all because they are AP1. They are damage D6, so that's a little scary.
Don't they ignore cover though?
No, they don't.
Exorcist. It's called the Exorcist.
Exorcist, yes. So it's like strength 10, AP1, damage D6.
Yeah, it is still hitting on twos because it's a heavy, but like,
Yes,
yeah,
it is heavy, so it hits great, but it wounds on 3s, 4s against wardens, which
yep,
is the most usual
amazing.
obvious target for them to shoot at.
Yep.
So I will say that I think we have a little bit of an edge there because most lists seem to take 3 of them, because against every other faction they are amazing.
Yep.
But against custodians they're a little bit eh.
I agree with you on that. I think you just basically explained it perfectly. I got nothing else to elaborate on. So let's do Adeptus Mechanicus. It's a win for Custodes.
Sounds good. I said question marks because I have literally never seen anyone play this faction.
It's a win to Custodes, so it's 8 to Mechanicus, 12 to Custodes. Here's the deal. You guys do need to understand that there are issues with this army. They have extremely annoying move blocking shenanigans. Let's check this thing out. I'm going to just kind of move your face here on screen for a second.
Move my face.
Yeah. Your face is great, but you're blocking text.
Oh, thank you.
So this is a Cerberus Raider. This guy, they scout 9 inches, they move 12, and they advance. And then when you move within range of them, they get to move d6 inches. So when they go first, these guys move basically 21 inches, right? Without advancing. And they stand in a line in front of your deployment zone and say, you don't get a first turn. And then in turn 2, they're going to use these stupid, really annoying, like little flappy flyboys called Taraxi Stalkers, and they're going to do the exact same thing again. So there is a real world where you don't leave your deployment zone until turn 3 against them.
Damn.
If you let them do it to you. Okay? Don't let them do that to you. You must have your Venator, you must have your Lars that can teleport. Honestly, a scouting unit of Witch Seekers is really, really valuable. A scouting unit of Eversor is really, really useful here. So don't let them do it to you, because if they do, you can throw this game, but it's 100% favored in Custodes, and Custodes should win the game. I just like to show these little tricks so you guys don't get, screwed.
We've talked a lot about getting, well, not a lot, but we talked quite a decent amount about being trapped in our deployment zone.
Yeah.
And obviously, how you deploy can affect that. But I thought of a little thing.
Yep.
What units in Custodes would you ever say are worth using the Overwatch stratagem on? Is it only the Alaris? Is that literally the only unit that is ever worth using it on?
And your Witch Seekers.
Yeah.
And your Witch Seekers don't do it for damage. The reason why Witch Seekers do it, they do it for the battle shot, because Witch Seekers have a special ability. It's a very unique ability, because typically in Overwatch, you can't use out-of-phase abilities. But the Witch Seekers, their ability, it doesn't proc in the shooting phase. It procs whenever they shoot, which means that they still force battle shock in their turn. So it's really, really funny when a unit of Lich Guard are charging onto you, and they've already lost like 1 or 2 models, and they're like, it's cool, I'm going to charge into 2 units, but once he activates, I'll resurrect, and then you can't kill me. But they're battle shocked, and they can't.
Oh, yeah.
So I do that. Yeah, I would use that, and Alaris. Those are the only 2 units I would ever Overwatch with, unless like this game relies on me getting lucky and rolling 1/6.
If I get these 2 damage, I win the game kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's how I think about it. Cool. We'll just quickly do Imperial Knights. Guys, Imperial Knights are really no threat anymore. It's a win. The problem is they got nerfed 6 times We only got nerfed 4 times, so we got less nerfs,
Hey,
which means it's a win for us. So yeah, Imperial Knights, they lost their Overwatch threat, and they can no longer their Crusaders no longer that great because he can't give himself +1 to hit anymore. So honestly, it's a win. You can lose it, of course. A good Knight player can still absolutely play around it, and they do still do really good damage. It's just with intelligent positioning, you're going to win the matchup.
yeah, I said 15-5 for Custodes.
I'm super comfortable with that, so we'll just put a little 515 in there. I got no issues with that. And then the last one. This is the last one, everybody.
We made it. We made it.
The Imperial freaking Guard. The Astra Militarum. Tell me
The
about
parking
your
lot.
thoughts on the Astra Militarum, my friend.
My thoughts is that assuming the build is still a lot of things that stand still and shoot indirects. I forget the names of all their tanks.
Basilisk,
I
Manticores,
am
or
Yeah,
Shakers.
I am not that scared. They will plink away at me, but I will be on my primary objectives. I'll be behind cover, and I will score enough points to hopefully win.
I tend to think that's a real bad strategy
Okay?
because what you're doing is you're relying on 3-up armor saves.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
Right? And I don't like putting myself in a position where I have to rely on reasonable rolls. The entire way I play Warhammer, and if you're in my coaching program or if you're in the Discord, you'll hear me say this shit a lot, and it'll get really annoying to you. But I try to win with shitty rolls. I want to put myself in a position where I can have bad rolls, and then I still win. So I did a really interesting stream the other day. I was playing Votann. I hated it. Freaking hated playing that army. But I was playing Votann into Necrons, and I had the worst rolls in existence. It was unbelievably bad, and we still ended up a draw for WTC points. I lost like by 2 points on the overall score. But the reason why it was like that was because I was able to put myself in places on the map that forced him to move into really crappy positions for him that made him have to take risk. So even with really, really terrible rolls, which should have made it just a steamrolling, I was able to put it at a draw. So if you can play with that mindset, it's gonna be much better for you. So yeah, I actually think that's a bad mindset once you're relying on 3-ups. I can rely on 2-ups, but I don't want to rely on 3-ups, if that makes sense.
That's fair. I should mention real quick. I didn't play against indirect guard spam, so I haven't tried it. That was just my initial.
Okay, gotcha. So we just run the math on it. So I got these two little units, beautiful units on the screen for you in front of you. So we got Manticores and Basilisk. If they're running indirect spam, which I don't think is the correct way to run guard right now, but if they are, and it is very popular, basically what you're looking at is 3 of these D6 plus 3 blast. They're going to be hitting you on 3s or even 2s at time. A strength 8 AP 2 damage 2. And then the other one is going to be, we'll just kind of expand this a little bit, is going to be doing a D6 plus 1 blast, hitting you on 3s or 2s, strength 10 AP 3 damage or AP 2 damage 3. And they're going to have 3 of each of those.
Okay, yeah.
It's so much firepower, and that firepower is making you -2 to move, -2 to advance, -2 to charge. It's so much. So against this line, you need to move up. Now you still have to stay hidden, right? You're still not stupid. You're still not moving really crazy. You're not taking crazy risks, but you have to move up the field.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you have to get in their face because otherwise they will they'll not plink away at you. They'll straight up remove you.
Exactly, because every single time one of those damage 3 goes through, you die. Right? It's just it's too much firepower for you to be able to tank.
Okay.
But it's not a bad matchup. It's a swingy matchup.
Yep. I put it at 14-6 for Custodes.
I put it as a more or less 50-50 matchup, to be honest with you. Yeah. Not that I actually expect you to draw, but I call it a 50-50. Like, either they're going to eliminate you or you're going to get to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. I think that was it, guys. I think we freaking did it. Mr. Eric, what is your hope and prayer? What are give me 2 examples of detachments that you want to see for the Custodes Codex?
Ooh, okay. So as I said before, Dread Host, best host. In the lore, Dread Host is very much a killy thing, and they use a lot of Dreadnoughts.
Yep.
And honestly, Dreadnoughts and Custodes right now, not that great. So I am down to see literally any kind of support to make a Dreadnought, maybe not spam Dreadnought list, but a Dreadnought esque list viable.
Cool, cool. So you want to see a walker list or a dread host? Bro, I'm right there
Yes.
with you. I'm right there with you on the dread host. I'm praying for it. As a matter of fact, I'm actually praying for a dread host style to be what comes in the Orks Codex. Because
Hmm?
I'd be willing to give away my exploding sixes if I got reroll charges back and I get an extra AP when I'm within 9 inches. Because that would solve.
Yes.
Yep, I'd be willing to make that trade.
Hmm?
But the other thing that I want to see for Custodes in this edition, which I haven't heard other people talk about, I want a Quill and Shield back.
Oh yeah, you want to be like
Give
so
us
how do you
old
want to do it
heroic
with the
intervention.
characters?
Give
Yeah.
us old school heroic intervention on the army.
Okay, that'd be cool. Yes. Yeah.
Bring back specifically for that shield host, for that detachment in Custodes, ninth edition heroic intervention, and I would play the crap out of that, dude.
I think so. It sounds really cool. I think the issue
Yep.
from here at the Mr. Average Competitive Player over here is that will be very good in the hands of you and will be absolute trash tier in the hands of me.
But how much fun would it be in the hands of you?
You know, first time I play against my opponents and I catch them slightly off guard. I'm not gachaing them, but very good. And then every time after that, I will not be able to figure out how to use it efficiently.
That's a reasonable critique. Okay, fine, fine, fine. But yeah, that's what I want to see. Those are the two that I want to see. I'm just super excited in general because I think GW's as much criticism as I have of GW, and I do have some criticism of them. I'm a super big fan of 10th edition overall.
Yeah,
There's been balance issues that need to be fixed, obviously, but just the way the game is working now and the way the new the codexes are looking, I'm freaking thrilled. We do have one question here that I think is always going to be asked every single time there's a Custodian stream. So it's time. Thank you, Mr. Clance. We appreciate you. Are Caladius tanks worth taking? Mr. Eric,
should I go first?
yeah, please do.
Yeah. So, in my case, at my skill bracket, it's probably a no-brainer to bring two Caladius Graph tanks because no matter how bad you are, it's very easy to point the big guns and the big tank at the enemy's big thing and roll some dice.
Yep. In my opinion, Caladiuses are dumpster tier.
That is fair. That is
Not
fair.
actual dumpster tier, by the way. I say that because it's a little bit funny. But in all reality, no, I don't particularly care for them. We're looking at AP3 in a game where everything has a 3-up armor save and they're in cover and they can get armor of contempt or even a 2-up armor save and cover with armor of
Yeah.
contempt.
Yeah.
So you're talking about shooting redemptors and they're saving on 3-ups.
Yeah.
And it's like suddenly you have a slightly bad roll and you're freaking, or they have a slightly good save roll and your freaking Caladius Gravity Tank doesn't kill a Rhino.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with the statement that if you're going into a shooting battle with Custodes and thinking that triple tank will let you win the shooting battle, you're wrong.
Yep.
But as a not maybe amazing player, as an average competitive player, they do allow you to at least participate in the shooting game. And lets you, if your opponent makes a mistake, puts a dreadnought a little bit too much forward, it lets you pick up that dreadnought with two of them, like on average. So it does give you some playing what do you call it? Play room in the shooting game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate, give two lists that I like a lot right now, and then I'd like for you to put one that you're enjoying a lot. So my list that I'm currently playing, because it was just asked, is I'm running Trajann, I'm running Valerian, I'm running Alaris with a Ceaseless Hunter upgrade, and then I'm running 2x5 Wardens, obviously Spears and freaking banner thingy.
Yeah.
1x5 Alaris, and then I'm going to be running 2x3 Venatari. I have 1x4 Witchseeker, 1x4 Prosecutor, and then 1 Eversor and 1 Calidus Assassin. That is my army. And It is awesome. I'm liking it a lot. It is a little bit unforgiving.
Yeah. I have played not quite a few games. I played quite a few games for how many games I play in general. I played like 6 or 7 games with this list, and I found very often, at least with the Venatari and Alaris, that I mess it up in, let's just say, turn 2, turn 3, and then I lose the game because of that.
Dude, I think we can fix that. I think we can fix that pretty quick. We should do a game stream. We should do one.
Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it sometime. I'm down. I'm down.
Cool. Yeah. So I think that's good. And what's the list that you're running right now?
So my list I'm running right now is still very much in the testing phase, but
Sure.
it's basically the same as yours. But instead of the Alaris and the Alaris Captain, I have 2 Caladius Graph tanks, and then I think a unit of Witch Seekers. I think that works out points wise. I'm not 100% sure,
So you're
but something like that.
so you're Trajann, you're Valerian.
Yes, I have Trajann, I have Valerian, and then instead of the Alaris Captain and the Alaris units, I have 2 tanks and a Witch Seeker squad.
2x5 Wardens, 2 Caladius Grav tanks. So you have 2 Witch Seekers then?
Yes, 2 times 4 Witch Seekers.
Witch Seekers, 1 Prosecutor still.
Yes, still 1 Prosecutor, the Assassins,
and then Eversor and Calidus.
Yeah.
I think what you notice is that we're both bringing Calidus and Eversor because they bring so much utility to this army that we kind of need it. They're so good. Eversor is the only access to grenades we have in the entire index, and
I think people also get surprised at how much damage you can actually do with the Eversor.
Dude, he slaps.
He can slap. Most importantly for me, Lone Operative means that they are the only unit that only costs 75 points. They can actually survive for 2 turns.
100%.
For Custodes.
So, guys, everyone, thanks so much for your attendance. We really appreciate that. If you like the stream, please drop a like. And comments are really, really awesome. So this live stream comments are great. And if you ever watch this again because you're taking notes or something, make sure you drop a comment on the video. Eric has his video. It's his channel. It is called Reynolds, and it is awesome. He does great work. I really enjoyed his video style. And you can find me here on this channel, but you can also find us at the Happy Crump and Wargaming Discord channel. There's a free section for everyone to join in, but we also have a members section where people can support me. The cost for that is $4 a month. It's a fairly negligible fee to you, but it means a ton to me, and it means a ton to your content creators that you really enjoy. We also offer coaching, so if you're looking to up your game, we do coaching, and I think twice a month. Right now, we're doing free teaching streams on YouTube where I'll do live streams and I do teaching. So hopefully everyone really enjoyed this. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. Reynolds, bro, man, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great getting to know what you think of various matchups, and hopefully I will remember it tomorrow.
Right on, brother. If you need anything, you let me know, okay?
Of course. Thank you.
All right.